Juan Lemus from Colombia.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Theodoris from Greece.
Nice to meet you.
Manta from Lithuania.
Nice to meet you.
George from Portugal.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Jenna from London/Mumbai.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you.
I'm Federico Grandesso from Belgium and Italy.
Nice to meet you.
So, if it's okay, I would like to begin. It's your first feature film, and you present it in a Cannes competition, and you are also one of the few female director presenting their films in a competition. It's already a huge success. How do you feel about this?
I feel really privileged. Honestly, like it's not a very big film, and we didn't have this expectation at all. And that fact that it's here, it's an honor and really a privilege because it will be so nice for the film, and a lot more people will see it now. So I'm really happy.
So the female perspective is quite important. How did you deal with this perspective and the problems women have? Because it's very much, I think, this is very much centered on women's problems and conditions.
I love the way that when there are films with many male characters, nobody says that it's about male issues. When it's a film that just has many ladies in it, you say, oh, it's a women-centric film. No, it's just a film that has many women in it. So I don't think that it's like if you see a Guy Ritchie film, there's only one woman in it always. We don't say that it's a film about men.
The big problems are the one.
The big problems are the problems of our society. It's a problem about love. Men also have the same issues. You know, like if she asks the boy, he goes back to his parents and tells them he wants to marry this girl, they're going to say no too. It's just that it's not the perspective I decided to go with. So, sorry if that came across as harsh, but I just feel this way.
And you have chosen like two. It kind of this film goes into two parts.
Yeah.
I would feel that there is like very important Mumbai episode, and then later we'll go into countryside. So maybe you could comment a bit about these different spaces, why it was important for you to have this switch.
Yeah.
And I really like that we hear a lot of comments in the beginning about what does it mean to live in Mumbai. So maybe you could answer a bit about why it was important for you to include this.
So Mumbai is a city where a lot of people come to work from different parts of the country. Like in Europe, you would say like Paris would have, but for us there also it's like an immigration itself, even though it's within the country, because every state in our country, they speak a different language. So if you're coming from, say, Kerala, you come to Mumbai, you might not speak the language there. So there is a kind of alienation that happens, and I see that because when I went to film school, my friends were from every part of the country. So there were like different languages. Some of them were forced to learn Hindi, even though they didn't know any word of it. So things like this, which always causes, I mean, it's difficult, you know, when you move to a different place and you have to learn. You have to first negotiate life, and then to learn a new language, it's painful. So this was one of the reasons that I wanted to have Mumbai as a space, because it's also a space that I know. I was born there. I didn't always grow up there, but it was a city I go back to and live in now as well. So it's a city that I know more than others. So it was, the reason was that I wanted to make a film about people who come, not about people who come like that, but just that a city where working for women is a little bit easier than the rest of the country. Maybe a few other cities are the same. So how we negotiate the space of work and life in the city. And Ratnagiri, where the second part of the film is placed, is when they go to drop off their colleague and friend. Ratnagiri is a district which is in the south of Mumbai, between Goa and Mumbai, where a lot of migration took place in the early part of the 20th century to work in Mumbai in the mills, the cotton mills that were there. So there was a large migration that took place. And so these two spaces for me are connected because of this migration that took place. But over the years, a lot of people lost their jobs in the mills, and the women had to start working to compensate for the jobs that their husbands had lost. So the women from Ratnagiri became, like, are seen, at least in my eyes, as very resilient and strong, and the kind of you know, they work and they earn their living and live life on those terms. But what I was also interested in is that women can be financially independent in India but still be completely tied to their families with other choices of daily life and love. So this contradiction is something that pains me in some way, and it was something that I wanted to express in the film.
In your previous documentary, I didn't saw kind of sisterhood that I saw in this one.
But it's also about friends.
It's true, but here are more like, sisterhood, no? Or I feel like that. Is something new in India, this?
No.
Okay.
Sisterhood is there everywhere.
Okay.
Friendship amongst women is somehow called sisterhood. I don't get it, but it's just about friendship, and that's it.
Since we mentioned your previous amazing film, in both of these films, in different ways, there is like a romantic story trying to flourish in a very repressive kind of environment. So I'm wondering, this clash of the personal and the systemic, how important was it for you to kind of approach through storytelling?
I find that for me this is a way to approach the larger discourse of the social and political discourse in the country through something which is very personal and in between just two people, which is love. For me at the moment, who knows what I'll move to after this, and the juxtaposition of these things, kind of the conflict that arises from it, is what I feel tells a lot about the society at large, and also becomes something that is a bit, I like to believe, universal and transcends the I think it can, perhaps many more people from different countries could relate to this conflict in some senses, although India is very specific in certain ideas when it comes to caste and religious bigotry, bigotry.
I would like to talk about the beginning of the film when you show the farmers that everyone selling fruit and everything. I was in Mumbai. It was the first image that I got in Mumbai was that. So I was there again.
Okay.
But the way that you treat the light in the film, I was the discussion with your people, because it's very, you have like a sort of a blue sometimes, a cold blue. How was that discussion? What did you try to show with that?
So if you're from Mumbai and you know the monsoon season, it's a time where actually you only have two seasons. One is summer hot all the time, and then there is monsoon. So we all feel happy, weather has changed. So the monsoon season is basically, in the beginning of the monsoon, you feel really good because the summer is gone and there is wind. But as the monsoon progresses, it becomes terrible because it's always flooding. It's really hard to get to work.
And you can get sick.
And you can get sick, and there is like water up to here on some days, or the train gets stranded. So it's not very pleasant. So all this romance about like frolicking in the rain, it goes out of the window. So the monsoon was very important to me in that sense, because I think it tells something about the city that I have seen growing up. So it was, and the light in this time is bluish. What you all experience in Europe, this long magic hours in the time of summer, we don't have that. So this is the only time that light is like this, like bluish color. So it's something that I wanted for the first half, and the second half to have this sunny and a harsh sun on a yellow and red landscape, because the earth of Ratnagiri is red, and all the houses are built with that red brick, the same red. So the red and the yellow of the drying, like the post-monsoon. Interestingly, Ratnagiri is near the sea and there is a lot of water bodies, but there is no system to hold the water. So immediately after monsoon, it dries up, which is one of the problems of the people there also, because their farming depends on that, and it's really hard to make money off the land. So I wanted these contradictions of the two spaces to be there in the two different seasons.
How did you came across with these specific stories that are, I don't know, you read some books, you met some, because they are quite peculiar. Maybe, I don't know, from India. But.
Okay, so they were not really from anywhere. They were just people I met in a kind of juxtaposition of friends and characters and even family members who behave in a certain way to make these stories. The story of the older woman Parvati for me is the story of the city of Mumbai, where she's come and she's tried to make it a home, but she's denied these rights because she doesn't have the money or the clout to claim her property, which is her own. She's lived there for 22 years, but she can't say that she's getting thrown out of the city. So it's really about like negotiating the space of the city and what you call your family, your friends and your family, what becomes your family eventually in a space like this. So this was some of the ideas that I had in mind, because a lot of my friends had also moved to Mumbai and I started seeing the city differently. So what we meant for each other, I think some of the ideas came from there.
Would you call this film an anti-industrialist critique?
It's anti-capitalist, but I'm not against industrialization, so it's an
anti-capitalist. Yeah, because you kind of have like this discussion of like kind of tower blocks and kind of even you have one of your main characters kind of take a rock to like a luxury development and
yeah. So in Mumbai, as you know, there is a real estate boom in that particular area. Like the market you see in the beginning is the Dadar flower market, and that same area after 3 hours becomes like these really fancy, like it becomes a place for multinational companies. So in the morning at 3 a.m. the flower market is there, and then it's completely cleaned, and you see this complete gentrification of like India Bulls and these kind of companies there. So it's very weird, but these two things are there. So it's kind of like the critique of the city itself, which is so-called supposed to be inclusive, but only if you have money that it is inclusive. Otherwise, you're kicked out as easily as they can kick you out. So, yeah.
It's like India's version of the American dream.
Yeah, but it's also like you can't go. Okay, now I'm going to go into something very. I mean, we are going from like a very feudal system into like extreme capitalism, and there was a moment of socialism in our country, which obviously has not
fizzled.
I mean, it's fizzled completely. So the few things that still remain are public schools like the FTII. Now when you go past that area, you see these buildings which have, you can't enter. You need like a special QR code to enter the building, and there are separate elevators for the staff who work there. They will say no labor allowed outside the door of that building. So it's like, and that same area used to be, the workers of those mills, and it's really for me the ghastly outcome of crony capitalism in our country.
But you sort of try and represent like union, solidarity kind of thing. Is that sort of what keeps you hopeful?
Yes. Yes.
The Indian independent cinema is really successful these days. We see a lot of films, independent films from especially young Indian artists in major film festivals like Sundance, Cannes, Berlinale.
Yeah.
What's the reason behind this success?
I think what's happening now is that more Indian filmmakers are understanding that seeking out financial support from European companies is something that is because we don't have finances in India to make independent films. There is no fund. Some states have certain funds, like Kerala has a state does give some funds, and there used to be a big national fund, and in the 60s it was thriving. So we did have more films being made which were out of the independent system. But now more and more this collaboration is leading to more independent films being made. But I also think that over the years, cameras have become more accessible, and people are being able to shoot without a lot of things. Like, I mean, one of my classmates' film is also here in Acid. He was my batchmate in film school, and that's super nice. So it's called The Retreat, and he made it like in his village in Leh Ladakh, and it's so unique to see a film like this. But it's because he had access to a camera which made it. I mean, it's not a small camera, but still, like, these things have become more accessible. So I think he was able to make the film with lesser resources and tell a story that is so specific to where he comes from, and that is beautiful. And great, and I think that technology is helping us.
Is this kind of independent cinema also popular in India? Because it's not typically Bollywood, so...
See, in India, anyway, there are a lot of people. So if you say an independent film, like, and people tell me here, oh, we'll get 20,000 entries to the cinema. I think that 20,000 is like my neighborhood. So, so even if it's a small release, like, there are a lot of people. So you'll get some people to watch.
There is about the resources you said. The sound in your film is very particular. At the beginning, they tried to find like a radio station, or
Yeah, that was the idea.
Yeah. Okay, but why?
Just I thought like it'll be fun. Sometimes people ask me these like questions like, why did you do this? I just felt like it at that point to do it.
Okay.
I wish I had a more profound answer.
No, it's okay. I mean that's okay.
So like for me, even for my previous film, I worked a lot with, because sometimes I wouldn't have a camera, or I wouldn't want to shove the camera in somebody's face, so I would just record audio with my small R26 recorder that I carry with me everywhere and just record. And using those voices, I started making documentary films. So that to kind of remember that, I had this as well, but kept a little bit of this, like as if it's bad tape or a bad recording.
Did you ever have any idea whether you wanted to follow like documentary or narrative, or it's nothing different for you?
No, it's the
either way?
same. It's a film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For me, the difference comes from the process.
Mm-hmm.
So, like with non-fiction, you can, because the money is not that much as fiction, so you can sort of shoot a little bit, come home and edit it, and then based on that shoot a little bit more. But in fiction, unfortunately, there are too many people asking what should be done, so you feel like, oh gosh, one has to plan. So the process is different, but I tried to keep the process a bit more like, very little bit more like non-fiction, because I shot in 2 parts. So after the first part, I could edit a bit and reflect on what we had done, and it also changed a bit the script for the second part, a little bit, because I realized working with these actors who are so brilliant that when they were together, it was like fire. So for the second part, I made it more about their camaraderie as well. So
in India, how is like you are in Cannes again after 30 years?
So I think like in India, we again, like I said, that there is a very strong ecosystem of films within each state. So festivals are not such a big part of it, because we have our own thing going on. We're a very big industry. So a few people will know about Cannes, of course. It's good, and people will understand that it's something that's there and it's going on. But most of the population has no idea what this festival is.
I'm curious about your festival experience here and how it relates to other festivals you've been to as a person of color and a woman.
Interesting. I really feel strange that in this festival there are not more female filmmakers. Like it's taken so now we are celebrating that there are 4, but there should be more. I mean, it's France.
And there are 3 women who won the Palme d'Or, and all of them are French.
Well,
no, there's Jane Campion.
White, sorry.
Didn't she win?
Exactly.
Didn't Jane Campion win at some? She won, right? Yeah.
Yeah, all their names begin with J. So it's Justine Triet, Jane Campion, Julia Ducournau.
Sorry, because just to come back a bit to the style of the film, maybe you could comment, because it was really you're focusing a lot on everyday details, but the film still is really, really poetic and very light and beautiful and subtle. So maybe you could comment a bit, because we see very suppressed feelings as well, but it comes like very light way. So maybe you could comment a bit about the style and how you approach this.
I was very. I wanted to. I don't know. Maybe the kind of person I am. I wanted to. I really feel delighted at things. So I wanted to keep a sense of delight, and that everything is, that we have a tendency to sort of say that, okay, life is all terrible and these women are really suffering, but it's not true. It's you're suffering, but you also have other things in life which make you happy. You listen to music, you feel good. You eat some fried fish, you feel good. So those human delights for me are as important. So I wanted to have that feeling of being delighted.
This is another why did you do this question. But I was curious about the comment that Anu makes like early in the film about like state-sponsored vasectomies.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
So I was I was reading a lot about this, like how contraception is given in certain things. I had met a nurse who told me that she would go to like outskirts of Mumbai to give out contraception, and sometimes to convince men to get vasectomies, they would give like a bucket and some money.
A bucket?
Yeah, a bucket and ration. At that time it was ration. So it was a few years ago. But this really struck me as like, okay. So I kept it in.
Someone needs to talk about
it was
this.
Funny. It was funny. It's like this. Now I think the state, like the vasectomy drive is reduced, and it's not such a big part of. There are not that many initiatives. Only a few states still have them. But it was too much fun to not keep.
I would like to ask the question about the burqa. The burqa is used to cover the body, but at the same time it's a place to hide. To go. The funny thing that I saw in Mumbai, I was in the Muslim part, I stayed in a Muslim neighborhood, and there were a lot of girls that entered with the burqa in a cafe, went to the bathroom and go out without the burqa. Yeah. So don't you feel that that the use of the burqa can take you to some problems with the community or not?
I don't know. Let's see. I don't think so, because quite often in films the burqa is used as a disguise. Mm-hmm. So it's been done. I did nothing new.
You're not the first one.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a little bit of neorealism in this, in the characters?
Maybe just the way I shoot Mumbai would have that aspect in it, but I mean, it would be great if that's what people feel about it. But yeah, why not? Yes.
Could you speak to
I like the idea of neorealism and fantasy together.
Could you speak to maybe some of your like cinematic influences, more generally, and for this film?
Yeah, I watch a lot of films, and I'm mostly a huge cinephile, so I really like the films of Alice Rowacker, and I'm like a huge fan. Episodio, Miguel Gomes, who's in competition, which is so cool.
Are you seeing that today?
No, because I'm here. Please tell them that I want to go to see it.
You talk about fun.
Yeah.
Is this just a personality thing, or is it maybe a philosophy on?
It's a philosophy, I think. Like, I think it's again, like, life is also. It can be depressing, but within that there are happiness moments, and I think that one feels the joy of being alive because those exist. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a personal thing. I don't know.
One last question.
Oh.
If you have one, really good.
No, I was very interested about so Alice Rowacker. The question was Alice Rowacker and
Episodio, Miguel Gomes, so many filmmakers.
Any particular films, or like, what's your favorite film?
Oh my God, favorite film? How can you ask favorite film?
You gotta have a stock answer prepared.
Oh no. Okay. Favorite film? Favorite film keeps changing. Come on,
today.
do you have a favorite film?
Spirited Away, Hayao Miyazaki.
But
Easy.
it's today for me. It's every day maybe.
Yeah, every day is
Otherwise,
different.
it's different.
Every day my favorite film is different.
What is it today?
It's Happy as Lazaro.
Exactly. Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.